My name is Daniel Dubovoy, and I will be presenting to you guys my informative speech on nuclear power and energy. Today, I do not have the requirement of 8 people in my audience. I do have, however, my friend Natalie, which is currently working on the camera. I'd like to start off with my goals for this presentation. I would like to sound fluent and adequate to my viewers. My goal for this speech is to become a better public speaker in regards to not looking at my notes and making sure that I sound trustworthy for my audience. Let's move on. Like I said again, I will be presenting to you guys the efficiency of nuclear power and energy and the benefit it gives us people. Also, I will present to you the way nuclear energy is affecting us poorly, so by the end of my speech, you will have your own opinion on how nuclear energy works. Let's move on to the background information on nuclear power. I'll be explaining to you guys how it works and the foundations of everything that you need to know to know the essentials of nuclear energy. Nuclear power is the release of energy that generates heat and is used in steam turbines that produce electricity. Nuclear power was around since the 1950s when it first started operation. Currently, there are 440 nuclear power plants around the world, and there are 65 on its way to become nuclear power plants that we can use in the future. A total of 505 nuclear power plants is what the world is going to see in the nearest future, which gives nuclear power a more leap towards the future and for future development and use. Nuclear power has gotten a bad reputation, however, as you guys know, due to many instances of human error and because of many disasters. However, nuclear energy is a great way to produce a massive amount of cheap energy in a short amount of time. Nuclear power uses nuclear reactions that generate heat, which are used in steam turbines, like I said before, and they just produce very, very cheap and very efficient electricity. In 1954, in Soviet Union, was the first nuclear power plant that came to use. And now, more and more are coming every single day. Nuclear power is generated through steam, and because of that, it does not burn through anything. There is no pollution, there is no radiation coming out of the nuclear reactors itself. So if you can imagine the nuclear reactor as this entity here, there is no radiation, no pollution, just steam coming out and nothing else. How it works, however, is that the atoms of uranium split in a nuclear reactor and make up nuclear fission. Heat is produced through that physical process and makes the uranium fuel, which then goes into the steam turbines and produces electricity. 2/3 of every nuclear reactor in the United States are pressurized water reactors, and the rest are boiling water reactors. Those are the two main nuclear reactions, the main two nuclear reaction facilities that the United States uses. The world is still using nuclear power as a source of energy, and actually countries like France, Ukraine, and Slovenia are the #1 leading providers of electricity to themselves using nuclear energy. But only 10.9% of the whole entire electricity produced in the world is generated from nuclear power plants. So let's move on to the benefit that nuclear energy gives for our society. Firstly, the cost of nuclear energy is estimated by MIT in 2009 to be $4,000 per kilowatt of energy. It is the direct access to low-cost fossil fuels and very cheap energy. Nuclear power plants are obviously expensive to build. However, they are very cheaply to run. Once everything is built and operating, the operation costs of the nuclear power reactors are very, very cheap compared to any other production of other electricity. In the past 6 decades, it has been proven that nuclear power is a safe way to generate electricity, even though there has been some instance of disaster, as you guys may remember. These instances are like Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and Fukushima in 2011, but we will move on to that a little bit further in my presentation. Like I said before, nuclear power is a very clean source of energy, and it produces more electricity than wind energy and hydro energy, which are basically windmills and dams. The risk of nuclear disasters have been declining, which is a positive thing for nuclear energy, because the operation is now more reliable, the people are more knowledgeable on how the process works, and just everything is very well contained and controlled by those people. Lastly, I'd like to discuss with you guys how nuclear energy affects the world negatively, and how nuclear waste affects our society, us right now, our climate, and our future children. Like I said before, Chernobyl, for example, it happened in Ukraine. 3 Mile Island, that happened here in Pennsylvania. And in 2011, which is if you guys remember, after the hurricane, it was also a huge nuclear disaster. Many scientists actually are planning on abandoning nuclear energy, but these things should not stop the future production of this kind of clean form of energy. On April 26th, in 1986, Pripyat, Ukraine was the most catastrophic nuclear disaster in the whole entire world. What happened was there was an explosion in the core of the reactor, and the explosion released fire that contained radioactive particles into the atmosphere. It has spread across Europe and most of the world. It is classified as the same level as Fukushima that happened in 2011. They were on a scale of 7 nuclear disasters, but only 31 people died in Chernobyl. But still, up to this day, people are suffering from the devastations of the radioactive material that came out of Chernobyl, which is why it is such a devastating part of such a beautiful thing, which is nuclear energy. A major earthquake, which caused a 15-meter tsunami, disabled the power supply and cooling of 3 Fukushima reactors, which caused the devastation of what happened of March 11th in 2011 in Japan. This was the last major devastation after Chernobyl. But there has been no cases of death or radiation sickness from the nuclear accident. Over 100,000 people, however, were evacuated from the homes in Japan. To follow everything up, nuclear energy, like I said, is just a great source of energy. It is very cost effective and very, very simple. Even though there are many instances of nuclear energy affecting us poorly, it should not be affecting us that way, because if managed properly, it is a good source of energy generation. It is important for people to know the basics of nuclear power, and people should decide for themselves if it is a way of energy generation the world in the future needs. Guys, thank you very much for hearing out my presentation. And I hope by the end of this, you have a knowledge of nuclear energy, and you will have a visualization for yourself of whether you believe in it or you want the world to find better sources of clean energy. Thank you very much. Again, my viewer only today was my friend here, Natalia, and myself